Billiken fans, welcome back in to the Midtown Madness podcast. Happy Thanksgiving. This is the Midtown Madness podcast with Peter Hale and Zach Miller. Of course, I'm your favorite Billiken chucklehead, Zach Miller, joined by the number one recruiting guru for really college basketball in my mind. Dude does leg work like nobody's business. Pete, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was really nice, man. Just a kind of low key thing with my wife's family. How about yours?
I didn't actually do anything. I kind of laid on the couch and watched basketball, and I didn't. My mom brought me over like a tray, like one of those individual trays from Deerberg's. I'm like, I'm not sullying this beautiful holiday with individually wrapped Thanksgiving dinner, but I appreciated the gesture.
And taking it easy is nice too. I haven't had a day like that in like 6 years. So that sounds nice.
One day soon I will no longer have those days. So I'm learning to appreciate them.
Yeah.
We're gonna switch it up today because the talk of St. Louis is the Billiken Soccer team. What a Friday night, what a Saturday night.
Yeah. It's this program is officially elite again, man. I mean, you can hang the official tag on it. It feels like they're back. They're all the way back.
I think I don't remember if I said it on the podcast, but I find it pretty interesting that UCLA basketball and St. Louis soccer, the two programs that I would equate each other to, historically speaking, are both back at the same time. It's kind of neat.
It is. I don't know. I didn't think I would be this excited about it. I mean, the last time they went to the Elite Eight, 2003, it was kind of in the middle of my time at SLU. And so I kind of took it for granted, but kind of feels like, things have just been really up and down for so long that to be back here just feels right.
Yeah, 2003, shout out guys like Kyle Hobson, John DiRamondo, guys that are still around the program, going to games and keeping up with the team. I know the alumni are all just pumped up, and I know we're not going to get the dream match that we wanted, the Indiana St. Louis matchup that probably would have brought in 10,000 fans, but it's exciting nonetheless. I don't know how I was feeling going into this game. I know that, and I know everyone's going to, tell me I'm lying, but then again, at the end, I was wrong. I called a 3-1 game for this before it started.
It looked like you're going to be right for a little bit too.
For about 20 minutes, I looked like a genius. And then unfortunately, Duke came back, but let's run down the action. Obviously the Billikens win this one 4-3. They win it on the scoreboard and they win it in the stands with the showing of the traveling Billiken faithful. But in the 18th minute, Mason Leaf gets his fourth of the year and the Billikens on the scoreboard from Christian Buendia. My goodness, what a goal, Pete. This was a world-class touch from Mason Leaf.
It was. I mean, he buried a kind of a weird little bouncer right in front. At least that was, he put his last touch off the bounce, and then he gave us, his typical world-class celebration, the backflip there. But yeah, it was a nice ball in. He kind of, the way he settled it, he had a foot kind of up in the air. So it was a bouncer because he was kind of spinning. He kind of did an almost like 360, popped it to himself and put it in. So really unusual play and finish, but yeah, loved it.
He took the finish off the bounce. It wasn't settled on the grass too either. So, I mean, the level of body control, the level of concentration, foot to eye coordination to put that ball in the back. I mean, he could have skied that ball over the net. He could have missed it completely. Right. I mean, it was just an unbelievable goal. And
it wasn't poorly defended either. He just kind of, he did something that neither of them could have predicted, because there were two defenders that kind of crisscrossed in on him right at the last second. And he just he popped it up like about 6 feet high to himself, let it bounce once and buried it. It was just really a cool play that, I don't think anybody could have seen that particular turn coming.
of course, Duke pulled one back in the 54th minute. The Billikens played a great first half and defended really well. I think both of us were probably a little concerned that they, sat back a little more. I'm almost kind of glad that Thor equalized the game in the 54th minute, because I think it forced the Billikens to recollect themselves and push forward. But this was just a great goal all the way around. Amir Daly did a great job with the ball on the right side of the field, twisting and turning and getting away from Billiken defenders. Got it over to Peter Stroud, and he crossed it in. And Thor made a great little fake forward. He a jab step forward, hard step forward, and then backed off and had the space to head the ball past Schulte.
Yeah, he's the guy we called out coming into this one as their goal scorer. Duke's not a huge scoring team, but that's his 15th on the season, and he clearly knows what he's doing. But you're right. I don't think it was the worst thing in the world to happen, because we weren't going to make it another 40 minutes, just kind of sitting back. You got to give credit to SLU for responding pretty quickly.
Yeah, Thor was actually not, and Thor was the flashpoint, I guess. The guy that everybody was talking about leading into this game, because of his antics against UCLA. So he didn't start. He missed the first 20 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I didn't see exactly when I don't remember exactly when he came in, but yeah, you are right about that.
He had a little interesting body language. I noticed. I rewatched the game today because I'm a psycho. But I noticed when he had the camera on him, he was shaking his head like he couldn't believe that he was sitting on the bench for this one. And I think this was pre Billiken goal as well. So interesting body language, and it was his 15th of the year. So he extended his lead at that point over Simon Betcher in goals to 2. But in the 58th minute, the Billikens strike right back, and it's Johnny Klein off a Simon Betcher cross. It's Klein's 7th of the season. But this goal was really made by our boy elite Isaiah Parker.
Yeah, I mean, it's yet again, it's Parker setting up these same two guys, giving the Betcher basically a ton of room to operate with, and Betcher puts a cross in to Klein, who kind of snuck in right up the middle. But yeah, Parker does so much work with the ball at his feet, covered a lot of space, and gave Betcher a really nice spot to work with.
Yeah, people are going to call this a fluky goal and a lucky touch off of Isaiah Parker's foot, but you work hard, you make your own luck in my mind.
Right.
You put in the legwork, you close down the Duke player, and you get the deflection, and it goes your way, and Betcher is able to run onto that ball, and then what an unbelievable cross, and the touch, another world-class touch of an angel from Johnny Klein. You could, if you watch that video back, that whatever SLU social media intern did, you can hear the tap of Johnny Klein's the ball on Johnny Klein's foot, and just a calm, cool, collected finish through the goalkeeper's legs, puts the Billikens up 2-1. And I know, the people, Amsterdam went crazy.
Yeah,
I will get to Amsterdam in a bit, because it was a wild evening at Amsterdam Tavern. But I've never seen Amsterdam like that. You only see it like that for men's national team games. Not the crowd. The crowd was not that level. I'm not gonna say it was anything close to that big, but the everybody coming together for one team, you don't see that very often at Amsterdam, because quite often we're watching Premier League games there.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so the Billikens go on and they take a 2-1 lead. Then 64th minute, it's Simon Betcher, the talisman for the Billikens, scoring his 14th, pulling back within one goal of Ulferson. Sterenberg on Seth Anderson on the assists. Just another just solid play that results in a Billiken goal. It was so odd how that ball kind of got by the Duke defender, and then Betcher took the perfect course, the perfect path.
He did. And because this is yet another one, and I think this is true of all three of these goals, are really all four. It's not like Duke was out of position or made a big mistake. It was a matter of SLU's guys just making plays. You're right. He ran absolutely the right course. And if you look at the replay, you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Duke shirts kind of around him. And he manages to find just a narrow path through the middle there. And once again, expert finish by him too.
Yeah. Again, you can call these, fortunate bounces, whatever, turnovers by Duke, but how often do you see in college soccer where you don't capitalize on it? I think we saw it once, or we saw it once before that, where Betcher or Johnny Klein, I think, played it a little bit too far out of Betcher's reach, and he had to go get it near the corner. I mean,
no, yeah, I don't want to take anything away from SLU on any of these.
Absolutely not.
His finish here, the goalie played it well, charged right out at him, slid, and he made the perfect touch to get around the goalie and give himself an empty net to finish. So there was, whatever you want to say about the setup of the play or what Duke did or didn't do, it took skill, like very high level skill on SLU's part on all three of these goals.
How are you feeling after this Betcher goal? Because I think everybody kind of settled down at Amsterdam. I think everybody kind of was like, okay, it's 3-1. Yeah. The Billikens have the Rammer would call ball game,
Yeah, they I know it's kind of a cliche that the 2-goal lead is never safe, but I don't know. You look at it and you're like, man, okay, so there's about 26 or 27 minutes left at this point.
There was 26.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'm kind of thinking like, okay, we've watched them this season get into trouble sometimes with a 1-goal lead, but really I was having trouble thinking of a 2-goal lead that didn't wind up being safe. And correct me if I'm wrong there, but I was feeling pretty good at this point. I thought, okay, I'm about 90% sure this is pretty much over.
Yeah, the beers were flowing big time.
Yeah.
But Nick Periano had other ideas in the 74th minute. He scores off a Shakur Mohammed goal. It's Periano's third of the year. This was off a Chase Nice misplay on a clearance attempt. I mean, this is 1 in a million from Nice. I don't think this is an issue. It's unlucky.
Yeah.
You're playing in conditions, and it was a nice night, I think, or at Duke. I don't even know where they're at, Raleigh or Durham. I have no idea.
Durham.
Yeah. I mean, you never know what's going to happen on a field. It's grass. It's, wet, night, dew, whatever. So just an unfortunate series of events led to a goal at the back post.
Yeah. Unlucky. But even at this point, I'm thinking, okay, 15 minutes left in this game, 16 minutes left. We're not gonna make another big mistake like that. It's kind of how I was feeling then.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
Yeah.
But of course, 3 minutes later, Jai Bean, who we will discuss further, gets his second off an assist from the second goal scorer, Periano, to tie the game. And it's a bit of a tension convention at Duke.
Yeah, this was when the game officially felt like wild to me. Like, Duke, we talked about before the average score. They're a really good team, but their average game is 2-1, and that's kind of what they had already done in the tournament. They don't really play these high scoring games. We know from recent highlights and everything that Duke is one of these teams that's they're chippy. They can, kind of bait you into playing a dirty game. And, there's a lot of gamesmanship in the way they play. But I did not expect this to be a full-on scoring explosion like it became. And now here you are. Yeah, you're right. Just a few minutes after that one where it was like, okay, sky's not falling. We can still close this out. And things have officially completely gone the other way.
Yeah. I still was pretty okay. I thought, it was just kind of like, okay, come on guys, let's finish it off. I always default to, if this goes to penalty kicks, we've got Schulte in that.
Yeah, but I still didn't
So
want to get there.
of course not. Of course,
Right.
you never want to leave it to that, because that's somewhat of a coin flip. It's like playing mini Bach at the casino. It's the closest thing you can get to a coin flip.
Yeah.
And that's the extent of what I know about mini Bach. 79th minute, the Billikens catch a major break. It's an own goal. I saw some people who claimed that I believe they wanted to say Mujib Marana was offside and may have impacted the play, but that's bullshit. Because before they would have even known that Mujib Marana was there, the ball was in the back of the net. But yeah, it went off the goalkeeper, went off their defender, and into the back of the net within the span of half a second.
Yeah, no, I've watched it like 10 times now, and I've never, you would never see offside called there. That's ridiculous. Coming in off a corner, Betcher actually got a pretty good head on it, but it immediately was deflected by a Duke player. I don't remember which defender it was. And then kind of just it's almost like this force of bodies that kind of pushed it into the net. It was chaotic in front of there, but no, Morana, absolutely not would I have raised a flag on that.
This is why I say that any coach who consistently runs a short corner in college should be fired. If you do more than one short corner in a college soccer game,
yeah,
you don't need to be coaching, because they're and I think I had this discussion with one of my buddies at Amsterdam. I said he said there's 5 leagues in the world maybe where a short corner is worth a damn.
Yeah.
And college soccer is not one of them.
Yeah. I think he's right.
You send the ball in, defenses are not good enough. They are not to repel all of them. So I mean, I think the top 5 or so teams in the country are the exception to that rule. I think SLU is an exception to that rule, where our defense is that good, is that experienced, that a short corner may be a good idea to pull us out of the our positioning, but I still don't love them.
I mean, especially because this one winds up going off it kind of looked like his knee, the final touch on this one, the Duke defender. So yeah, you got to put it out and give yourself a chance to just put it on net. I agree completely there. The way that SLU celebrated this one too, feels like Betcher and the rest of his teammates kind of agreed that he deserved credit there for that header, to put it down and bouncing in front of the net. So they kind of treated it like his goal, even though technically it wasn't.
Mujib looked like Jim Valvano looking for anybody to hug. He's like, somebody give me the credit.
Yeah, but he was still in the net by the time Betcher was running toward the stands.
It was pretty incredible, and of course the place went wild at Amsterdam.
But again, there's over 10 minutes left to go, and the way that this game has gone, now you're sweating bullets.
Yes, but sweating a little bit cooler bullets, a little bit of a cold sweat, not so much hot. It was awesome. And then the countdown, and you got really nervous about a minute and a half,
right?
Because that's when the nerves can kick in, and that you've seen it, not necessarily with the Billikens, but you've seen it all over in soccer, all over in basketball. Teams wilt, but this team just did not wilt.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So why don't you give us a rundown, kind of your notes on the game?
Yeah.
I was watching as much of this one as I could on a phone at a social event, and it was not ideal circumstances, but it sounded like you had a much better viewing experience.
Oh, I had a great viewing experience. But no, I didn't really get many notes. I mean, there was the skill, I thought, for the Billikens was on full display, especially running at Duke defenders. I thought on multiple occasions they just made Duke defenders look silly. There were oohs and ahs throughout Amsterdam. But I thought, the defense was solid. We wanted it more. I felt like they fed off that travel party of fans. It just was, it was fantastic to see and so much fun to see this city kind of, it was kind of like when I saw the watch party for the Billikens for the Billikens basketball, for like the first round game, the most recent one at Ballpark Village. It
Okay.
was just, it was on a smaller scale, but you know, it's gonna be, it just is. But it's so, I mean, on social media, it's been fun just to search Billikens and see what's out there today. Like just, you know, a lazy Sunday, just searching around and enjoying people taking notice of things that we've been saying for months on this show.
Yeah, and it almost feels like it would be exaggerated to say a sleeping giant, but there's clearly
within a niche.
Yeah, right. Because there's clearly a community of soccer fans in St. Louis and among the alums who were ready for this. Like they're ready for SLU soccer to be as good as they remember it.
Yes.
I think this team has kind of, you know, through a few different coaches over the past, I don't know, 15 or so years, has kind of struggled with identity a little bit and certainly has not been able to sustain the level of quality that they typically had up through the early aughts. And it just felt like all of these people right now kind of coming together have just been so ready to have this entertaining quality local product on the field again. And that's exciting. And hopefully we can keep that up, you know, as the MLS team gets off the ground and really reestablish St. Louis as a real force in soccer. But let me ask you this. Did the game Duke played, did you think they were like, okay, so we saw their antics at the end of the UCLA game.
Yeah.
Did you think they were as dirty as you know, or as whiny, or as just like kind of irritating to watch as you expected?
I didn't really think they were that bad at it at all. I thought they played I mean, again, we don't know what they're saying on the field. And
sure.
I mean, truthfully, like Duke is like that kid that all the parents love, but like the kids hate. That like, parents cannot understand what kids are complaining about the kid that's like a total asshole. Like I
think that describes a lot of Duke culture in general.
It's kind of like the kid that like they're all Eddie Haskell.
Okay. Yeah.
You know,
they know how to present well.
Yes, they present well, but you know, behind, you know, they're like Hoyt Ambrose from Accepted.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, they're cleaned up, but like underneath they're a little they're a little sleazy, whatever. I don't know. I don't know the right word, but you get where I'm going with that. I don't know. I thought they physically, I didn't think they really played a dirty game up until what happened after the whistle, the final whistle.
Right.
I thought they were fine. I was, you know, I think, you know, Thor kind of redeemed himself in this one. I liked his celebration. I thought it was, I mean, I was like calling him a douche, but like, you know, he scored a goal and he, you know, told everybody that was yapping that he couldn't hear him, you know?
Right.
So, I like that, you know, you love that in a game. It's just, we all take things too far. I've been there. We all know I've been there. And you know, you move on and you learn, and sometimes you don't learn, but clearly he, you know, sat out 20 minutes and learned.
Yeah. So then what did go down at the end of the game? Because when you do see there was a red card given at the 90th minute, things got a little ugly right at the finish. And I'm also wondering, you know, do you think whether he deserves it or not, do you give, what's the point of a red card in the 90th or at the end of the game?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think he's out for the first game next season, which, I mean, it really doesn't do much when like we talk about college sports. Like, I think honestly, like if you're going to give a red card in serious competition, like an NCAA tournament, it should carry over into like conference play. Mm-hmm. Like, because who are they going to play? Like, I don't know, some community college in
like for an exhibition game or something. But
okay, so what happened, I don't know exactly what, but I know there was, I think the keepers jawed at each other for a minute. Mm-hmm. I know I saw that. You know, Billikens really didn't do anything other than yell. but Schulte, I guess, went up and tried to talk to the what's his name? I'm thinking of it now. Bean. He went up and talked to Bean. I guess he put his arm around Bean. I probably wouldn't. I probably would tell Schulte maybe don't touch him.
Yeah, don't touch him.
Yeah, don't touch him. But and then I guess Jai Bean had took exception to whatever Schulte was saying. I think Schulte waved goodbye to them all like right after the game ended, and then went up to talk to Bean. So I mean, I can see why Bean might be upset, but again, you can't do what Jai Bean did, and that was open hand, half punch, half slap, half push. Patrick Schulte in the face, and Schulte, to his credit, held his nerve and didn't retaliate.
Yeah, and not just to his credit, but to everybody else's credit. Because at this point, one of those guys can run in and try and be a hero or a good teammate or whatever he thinks he's doing, and then get himself, suspended for the next game.
I mean, it reminded me again of that A10 final when Duquesne was trying to, I can see what, if Duke's trying to get somebody to get a red card so they can't play next game, like that's cheap and lame. But I mean, it's the same for all those people that made a massive deal out of this Thor Ulferson issue. It's gamesmanship. Like, good on Billiken fans and everybody who dislikes Duke and wanted to see Duke lose to make it as big of a deal as possible.
Yeah.
Because the more you distract that team, going into the next game, it's good gamesmanship. So it's a little lame to try to get a fight going to do it.
Right.
But it is what it is. And I think it spoke volumes that the coach condoned what Ulferson did in that first game. So, I mean, it was bound to happen again in some form or fashion.
Yeah. I'm just glad nobody took the bait like UCLA did.
Exactly. But, and the Billikens are moving on. They're going to play Washington, who beat Indiana in another wild game.
Yeah, and like you had said earlier, we were kind of hoping for Indiana for a couple of reasons. I mean, primarily because it would give us the home field game, but also there's a lot of history with the SLU and Indiana programs.
It's like UCLA Duke. I think that's probably the best compare, or like it's a historically relevant program versus a more recent relevant program.
Right. Yeah. So, but Washington, they're the number 2 overall seed here. So this is going to be a big test for SLU, and we're going to have to go out to their place to do it.
Yeah. I think everyone at this point is going to be a big test. But I got, before we run down the Huskies, I got to run down this Amsterdam story because it was wild. Basically, okay, first of all, shout out Amsterdam for having a watch party and making the effort to get the game on. But I got there, and I settled in outside, and the games, they have everybody who watches on ESPN Plus knows that pregame that thing is like, this is about to begin or whatever with the 2 teams. It's up there, and then when the game begins, or they try to switch over, they get like, this is not part of your television package. And the game starts and they don't have the game on. Right. So I'm sitting there, and the one screen that what it was on has like, activate this device for ESPN. And I'm talking to the guys I'm with. I'm like, guys, like, I could just log into my account right now, and like, it would show up. Like, I'm just gonna do, like, this is stupid. I'm just gonna do it, because we started watching on the phone, and then I was like, this is stupid. I'm just gonna log in, because they were trying inside, and I let them do what they were gonna do because they were trying another method. But I went ahead and logged in, and then I walked in. I go, I just got it out on that other TV. I can get it out on the other TVs if you let me help. And so ended up logging into my television account, and ended up, basically the owner basically came up and was like, you don't pay for anything the rest of the night. So the table we were with, so we got free shots at the first Billiken goal. That was offered to us. We didn't we didn't request. And then we just, had some buckets and a lot of Mick Ultras flowing and some Citywide, shout out Citywide, but shout out Amsterdam Tavern for doing the legwork. And shout out I didn't hear any stories from like Cybergs or Westport Social, but apparently they had them on too, which is really freaking cool. I wonder if it was on the big screen. I really do, because that would have been awesome. Yeah. I might have actually gone to Westport Social if I would have had an idea that it would be on that massive screen. But it was cool. It was so cool. We did a little Saints Go marching in after the game ended, and it was a great time. And I think it was good to see a few Billiken alumni there and soccer alumni, and then there were some other St. Louis soccer guys there. So yeah. I was surprised that no athletic department people showed up, but I don't know if they all went to North Carolina or not. So
right. Well, that's it's good that you shout out all those places as well, because now people kind of have an idea of where they might go for the next one. We don't have all the details yet, yes. But all we know is we're going to go play at Washington
on Friday night, apparently.
Okay.
That's what I think. Everywhere I've looked has said Friday. I would bet if I still bet and I don't gamble anymore. I would say Friday night at 9:00 Central Time. That's just that's just common sense in my mind. That they would play it at 7:00 on Friday night, in the Western time zone, whatever Pacific time zone. So, but the more interesting thing is we're talking about Pac-12 network, which is much less readily available and does it interact with Pac-12 football? So it's probably going to get relegated to the internet feed. I would love to see Fox. I think we tweeted out that it would be great if Bally Sports would pick it up, the internet feed. Don't know how feasible that is or if that even is a thing. But I would love to see it happen. It would be unbelievable.
Yeah. Hope for the best, but just be prepared again that it might not be as readily available as you want. So,
and keep an eye on our Twitter. I really am going to do more to kind of give Billiken fans step-by-step instructions. Also because my mom follows the account and it's easier than having to talk to her every time. So I just tweet it out and tell everybody. And I just say, hey, but yeah, it's so cool. There were watch parties all over for this Duke game. I know Patrick Schulte is a big golfer. His family is big into golf. And I know out at Old Hickory, they had a bit, like his extended family, I think, had a watch party out in St. Charles at the country club. They had a laptop hooked up apparently out there. So Old Hickory in St. Charles showed the game. So it's just very, very, very cool. I got a random text like, I was out at Old Hickory and they were watching the game. They wheeled out 2 TVs. I was like, what's going on? And they were showing the Billiken Soccer. It's crazy. It's the city's popping off over this, and it's awesome to see. But yeah, Washington, it's going to be interesting being on the Pac-12 network. It's probably Pac-12 Extra or whatever it's called. It should be free. I talked with Mike Robeson, because his brother Kevin is the assistant at Indiana. They tried to watch the Washington Indiana game and the feed cut out. They missed almost the entire second half in overtime. So God willing, it's not peeing rain out in Washington again on Friday, because it was nasty. And I think we need to get to that too. We need to look ahead at this game because this is going to be a test. Again, I think the Billikens were underseeded. I think that this team belongs here for sure. So I don't think anything is too daunting of a test. Like we had, when the women played Rutgers, that was over the top test. This Washington team is not that compared to SLU.
No, I think there's a little more parity in the sort of top tier. And the other thing is, you talk about SLU being underseeded. It really just has to do with strength of schedule. A couple of teams that we thought were going to be a little bit better wound up not being as good over the long run. SMU, for example, comes to mind. And then we had a game against Central Arkansas that got canceled and never rescheduled. And they're a team that kind of flirted with, the top 25 all season, got some votes. So yeah, our strength, and then, obviously the A10 is not the Pac-12 or the ACC. So it really comes down to strength of schedule, but all we've done against this schedule is beat everybody. So I agree that I'm not as scared for this team going up against number 2 overall seed Washington as I was for the women going up against number 3 overall seed Rutgers. That's for sure.
I mean, I'll say this: like Washington's the best thing you can say about Washington's schedule is they made all their RPI points or in the net points playing in conference, except save for San Diego State and maybe Portland, because Portland usually puts out a decent team, but they have teams like UC Davis, Cal State Fullerton, Grand Canyon University, who actually puts out a decent team year in and year out. They put out a lot of decent sports teams. Dartmouth, Utah Valley, which they had to win in OT, at Seattle. Again, Seattle puts out a decent team. They played number 13 San Diego State and won 1-0 in OT. This is not a scary team. Number 2 seed is not scary. Now, saying that, they are scoring 2.32 goals per game, giving up 0.68 goals per game, less than a goal a game. Only 13 goals against on the season, and they are outshooting their opponents on goal 130 to 74 on the season. So it's going to be a tough team, but again, these Billikens are built for this.
Yeah, and I obviously have not seen Washington play much this season, but yeah, they've got a lot of clean sheets on the schedule here, and clearly are a really good defensive team. But yeah, I don't know. On paper, there's just not a lot that scares me here necessarily.
The only thing I will say that scares me is their leading scorer, who is on an absolute heater right now. He has 6 goals in 2 games, back-to-back hat tricks. He's got 12 goals on the season, 7 assists, 31 points. Dylan Tevez, he is a fantastic player, and he's going to be the guy that the Billikens are going to have to shut down.
Yeah, although yeah, you're right. I mean, he's going to be the focal point, but there's not really anybody else that jumps off the page here in terms of what they're doing statistically. Right. They kind of spread things out outside of him, and obviously he's really, really hot right now as well.
Yeah, he's on fire. Absolute. He's having an absolute great NCAA tournament. He's right now, far and away the Golden Boot leader, I think, for the NCAA tournament. I think the biggest issue that I'm nervous about is, what is this field and weather situation going to be? Because watching the highlights of their game against Indiana, the field was absolutely atrocious. It looked like they were playing in like BFE nowhere, England, like in the 6th division, up in like Newcastle, just a destroyed pitch, rain coming down constantly.
Yeah.
All the notable traffic areas were muddy. And you throw in the home field advantage. I think they get a little bit better crowd than Indiana, but Duke. Not much better, but they do. I think I want to say they got 2,354 for Portland in the first round and 183 or 1,836 for Indiana. So they do get quite a few fans. So it's going to be interesting. It's a long way to go too. It's 2 time zones away. You got to remember that we don't often travel to the West Coast,
right?
With being in the A10.
So looking at the 10-day right now for Seattle, little rainy early part of the week, but it looks like for now, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, no rain. Hopefully that holds. It's going to be cold. It could be around 40.
Yeah.
but at least right now it doesn't look like rain for Friday. So
it's
again,
not gonna
a lot can change between now and then.
I'm gonna make a really bad reference. It's not gonna be like the forecast in a Twilight movie.
Yeah, that is a really bad reference.
Yeah, thank you. That one's for our female listeners out there.
Yeah, both of them
that are all my mother and your mother.
Oh, actually, my sister, and I think she's familiar with the Twilight
okay. My mother is
franchise
not.
as well.
I need to make a Hunger Games reference for my mom. Absolutely just goes ape for those movies. Anyway, enough about my mother. Hi, Mom, if you're listening. I'm excited for this one. I think it'll be a late game. Plenty of time to get a little early boozing and get yourself riled up ahead of it. I think it'll be. It says Friday night. I think it really settled down some scaries in me that I was going to have to make a choice on Saturday night between Billiken basketball and Billiken soccer.
Yeah,
but that doesn't seem to be the case. Let's round out the Sweet 16. I think we're missing a couple scores here because one game hasn't gone final or hasn't even started yet.
Yeah.
We've got Washington beating Indiana 3-2. Pitt beats Hofstra 4-0, which is a hilarious way to end your tournament for the team that started it with an 8-0 win. West Virginia beats Tulsa 1-0. SLU obviously top Duke 4-3. Georgetown beat Providence 4-1. And Notre Dame beat Wake Forest 2-0. I think I'm missing one other game on here, but that game is playing right now.
You're not really, because Oregon State has New Hampshire. Oregon State's the number 1 overall seed.
Yeah.
Same conference as Washington, actually, and of course they've played twice this year. Oregon State is they tied the last one, and Oregon State won the first one. But anyway, they're the 1 seed playing the 16 seed New Hampshire. They'll go off pretty soon here. But there's a half hour left in the Kentucky Clemson game. They're the number 9 Kentucky overall seed, and Clemson's number 8 overall seed. Clemson's up 1-0 with a little under a half hour to go. So we don't know what's going to happen in those 2 games, but bottom line is only seeded teams are left. So no matter who comes out of Kentucky, Clemson, and Oregon State, New Hampshire, the Elite 8 is all top 16 seed teams. So it's been a pretty chalky tournament, at least into the Elite 8. SLU a 10 seed taking down a 7 seed, and then West Virginia was the 11 and beat number 6 Tulsa. But other than that, it's been chalk in this tournament so far. So definitely a top heavy Elite 8.
Yeah, I didn't realize that. I don't know why I missed it, but looking at Washington's schedule, Oregon State's ranked 8th in that first game, and then they're not listed as ranked on the last one. And I thought they maybe fell out. I don't know why, but now I'm seeing it again. Yeah, but again, I'm looking at these teams, and it's weird to see the Billikens on a level where you're like, okay, like Oregon State beat Stanford 1-0. Okay, like SLU could beat SLU could beat UCLA, and UCLA beat them 3-2. I mean, it's kind of one of those things. Like it's wild to look at these and not be scared, because you're kind of almost conditioned in being a fan of a non big school that you're not going to be the favorite. Or you're not supposed to win this game. You're not supposed to be competitive in this game, right? The underdog is ingrained in you, being a fan of a program like the Billikens in all sports.
Right. No, I think that's true. And the last time we made the Elite 8, lost a tough one to Stanford, another West Coast team, Pac-12 team. I don't know. Obviously Washington's done as much homework as they can on us in the short amount of time they've had to prepare so far. I can't imagine, out of all the remaining teams, that they would rather see us than some of these other teams. Like I said, it's top heavy. Everybody's good, but you're right. I don't for a second think SLU is not very, very much one of the top 8 teams in the country. Like the Elite 8 feels very much in line with where this team is and how they're playing. I don't think for a second that we're pretenders or don't belong there, or that we should truly be afraid of any of these remaining teams.
Yeah, I was texting back and forth with somebody earlier today, and I mean, this team just feels like they have all the pieces whether it be skill, whether it be, the, team chemistry, you have the right coach, the right tactics, but you also have this like St. Louis thing that's, it's like the Cardinals 11-11 rally squirrel, do it for Torty, and then like the Gloria Blues. Like there's always something that there's always that little it factor or like team of destiny thing that, and there's not really anything we can point to with this soccer team. They don't have a song. I mean, I guess, but you have life is life, but everybody plays that one. I think this team has it. There's destiny type feelings to it, and I don't want to like get myself worked up because, but I really truly do think, and I think I've said this, like I think this team can do it.
Yeah, I do too. I mean,
and I think that's the general consensus around people who know.
If and when they lose, it's going to be a close, hard-fought battle of a game. Like at no point will this team just. I would be shocked.
Yes.
If this team truly got a sucker punch by anybody left in this tournament.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
I think Kip Keller talked about that too. I mean, he said they know how important that first 15 minutes is.
Yeah.
And I know I can't remember a game where they didn't. Maybe the Duquesne game was about the only game I think they didn't come out and look sharp early. You had a few miscues and then Duquesne got one. But I mean, this team can do it. It's shocking for me to say it. I can't believe I'm sitting here saying it. But homie, they're 3 wins away.
I know, it's wild. I was trying to explain that to my son earlier today. And it kind of sunk in at that point, and yeah, no disrespect to Washington. I mean, Washington, this is their 9th tournament appearance in the 11 seasons that their current head coach has been there. It's their third straight year in the Elite Eight. So,
they have experience. I mean, we have experience too. But we don't have that level of experience. And I think that combined with the weather is the only thing that gives me pause. That's it. I think we have all the pieces to go up against this team. We have old guys leading the way in John Klein and Simon Betcher. Patrick Schulte plays well above his years. Kip Keller, Palazzolo in the back. Those guys are old heads. But then you've got the young guys that you need to step up like this.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you win an NCAA. That's how you win in postseason. You have your old heads, your studs, and then you have guys that come out of nowhere. It's the same as in like the Blues hockey, right? You had guys like Sanford and Barbashev and Sundquist all showed up. They played their part, and we've got guys like Isaiah Parker, Chandler Vaughn on the outside. Those guys are making moves.
Yeah. Yeah. I will say I have been incredibly impressed all season with the skill level on this team. I think this is the most skilled SLU team I've ever seen in person. I really do. And I mean, those teams 15 to 20 years ago were really good, when I was there. And you had guys like Dipsy Selawane, who scored all those goals. And Brad Davis obviously went on to a really long pro career. So there were really good players in that era, but I just think the overall skill level of this team is just an incredible step up from where we've been.
It's one of those things. College soccer is weird because again, it's not the cream of the crop. It's not the elite feeder part or feeder system to elite pro soccer. It's not, unfortunately.
Right.
So it's weird because you don't know a lot of times you don't know what you have.
Yeah.
Because you have to look at it on a sliding scale of where do my guys rank in the guys that go to college.
Right.
So I'm pumped, man. I'm so ready for Friday. I'm really hoping we can get a couple of we can nail down at least one big interview for this week leading up to it. Even if we have to release it Friday, I'm hoping maybe we pull something out either tomorrow or Tuesday. But let's move on to basketball. It feels weird, man. Basketball's hit such a. I feel like basketball's on such a back burner for me as far as my Billiken fan, and I don't mean that in any insult to to the basketball team, because that's what I grew up on. That's my introduction to Billiken sports. But soccer has just been that exciting.
Well, yeah, and it was also weird this week because SLU basketball played on
Right.
Tuesday and Wednesday, and
Really
then soccer was the big marquee weekend game, which is it's a little unusual. So it almost feels like with such a big soccer game over the weekend, yeah, it feels like it's been a week or so since we've actually last watched basketball, and it really hasn't been that long.
I think we just talked for an hour about soccer too. That's incredible. The Billikens beat, it really was front loaded this week. Illinois State on Tuesday, like you said, and then Stephen F. Austin on Wednesday. But Illinois State, the Billikens win in the Cancun Challenge semifinal, 82-76. Gibson Jimerson led the way for the Billikens in this one, scoring 19 points on 4 of 12 shooting, 3 of 6 from the 3-point line, and making all 8 of 8 free throws. And boy, have the free throws been the story with these Billikens lately.
It's just the complete opposite of where this team has historically been with free throws. And it's such a relief, isn't it? I mean, the fact, especially that our bigs are both getting to the free throw line and making them. Yes. So just hacking our best players is no longer a viable option.
I almost think Martin Linson, with any deficiencies that he has on the court, is worth his weight in gold on getting fouled and getting to the line.
Oh yeah, that's an incredible skill for a big guy. And yeah, we have talked about some of the areas where he's not, like he's a little too foul happy. He's not the best rebounder for his size. But the offense is just so worth it with him.
Yeah, he's super, super efficient. He's almost like the big man version of Highmark. He's the Highmark girl. Let's talk about Jordan Nesbitt. He had a rough go of it the last couple games, I think. You didn't see him in that last home game before they left for Mexico, and obviously he played really, really poorly at Memphis. Seems like he's become kind of a second half player, quietly efficient, but gets in foul trouble, but quietly efficient. I mean, you look at his stats. I mean, 5 of 7 from the field, 2 of 4 from 3 against Illinois State. He gets 14 points, makes 2 of 2 from the line.
Yeah.
I think the only thing you're upset about is those four fouls.
Yeah, I don't, we've said before the season even started, it's going to be an up and down year for him. As talented as he is, it's just going to be like that. He's a freshman. He's got a lot to learn. There are going to be times where his defense is not there. There's going to be times when he gets in foul trouble, and we've seen that. But he's been really, I've been so impressed with, he doesn't look like he's getting frustrated when he's spending time on the bench, whether it's foul trouble or anything else. And he's bouncing back. It's not like he's had a prolonged stretch where he's down. He just comes back out there and it has been kind of quietly going about his business. And I really like what we've seen from him the last couple of games.
I think as a Billiken fan, looking at all the guards we've had throughout the years that have been really, really good, you talk about guys like Mitchell, Jet, McCall, even like Crawford was smaller guard, but I almost get nervous. Like I'm almost conditioned to be nervous when a bigger guard puts the ball on the floor. Hargrove still makes me nervous. Nesbitt makes me nervous. But we've seen both of those guys get to the rim. What can, to someone like me who does get nervous because putting the ball on the floor, what can you say to kind of ease my tension?
I think Nesbitt has great handles for his size.
Yeah.
He's what, about 6'5"? Do I have that right?
I think so.
I'm not, but he's got really good length, and he's also really quick for his size. So I actually don't get nervous when he puts the ball on the floor. And I'm going to check this real quick, but I don't think he's been turning it over a whole lot, particularly.
He had one turnover against Illinois State and one. He had.
Yeah, he's had
none against
3 turnovers this season. So there.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. No, clearly that was the dumbest question of the podcast.
No, not at all. Because Hargrove has been
as
good as Hargrove has been lately. He has been turnover prone in the last couple of games.
6 against Illinois State, right. And SLU, I'm trying to see, I have this really small. He only had one against Stephen F. Austin.
Okay.
But I think most of those turnovers came really early against Illinois State.
Yeah, I think so. And I mean, if you're looking for things to worry about, Collins has been turning it over way more than we're used to seeing.
But it's funny that I don't think about it like that, because he has the ball in his hand 80% of the time.
And he still has, even after, and this is the kind of eye-popping number, like, and yes, there's level of competition and a lot of things to consider here. He had 3 turnovers in the first 3 games, to go along with 28 assists. Yeah. And then in the second 4 games, he has 24 turnovers. And not quite, and his assist to turnover ratio has been pretty close to 1-to-1. So he's averaging all of a sudden 6 turnovers a game in these last 4 games. Yeah. Now, part of that is Memphis really got to him. But 8 against Illinois State, 6 against Stephen F. Austin. If you're looking for things to worry about, that might be something to keep an eye on. I'm still a huge Collins fan. I'm not
absolutely
worried. I just, I kind of wonder what's going on there, and hopefully, I mean, I guess the one thing I am noticing is that this team does not necessarily handle pressure well.
So well.
Whether it's a press break, a full court press break, or we saw Memphis putting high pressure in the half court on these guys, throwing a lot of double teams on Uri when he had the ball. So I don't know if it's our other options that Collins has not really been able to get a good chemistry with, like maybe he had with Goodwin
or Perkins
or Perkins. So I think that might have something to do with it. But definitely when teams pressure us, we're coughing it up a lot more than we should be.
Yeah, we're going to have a couple weeks, and then we've got Auburn, who is like Memphis, famous for their
right.
trapping and their pressure and their ball hawking ability. So,
yeah.
But I want to point out that the win against Stephen F. Austin, it was a 79-68 win to get the Cancun Challenge Championship. I wanted to move on to it and mention it because one of my talking points from that game goes hand in hand with the Uri Collins situation, being that the emergence of DeAndre Jones as a viable point guard to not only give Uri a rest, but also support him in the last couple games when he's struggled.
Yeah, he's kind of emerged to be, who we thought he was. He is, and a lot of this does have to do with there are more minutes to go around with Perkins going out. But Jones is, the last couple of games been playing in the high teens in terms of minutes. And he's really not turning it over that much. He didn't have any against Stephen F. Austin.
And against Illinois State in 16 and 19 right. minutes, respectively.
Yeah, so when you look at his stat line against Stephen F. Austin, 19 minutes, 2 of 5 for the field, 1 of 2 from 3, and then 5 for 5 from the line. Definitely offensively, 2 assists, no turnovers. I look at that as kind of like, this is an ideal game from him to just come in there and be really sound, really solid, hit a 3, don't turn it over, keep the guys playing calm against whatever the other team's throwing at us, and give Collins a break, or at least somebody to run it in the backcourt with. So he's really been great after not showing a whole lot in the first few games.
Would it intrigue you if the Billikens were to play, say, Uri Collins with Nesbitt and DeAndre, and maybe show a different look and have Jones bring the ball up or Nesbitt bring the ball up as the primary ball handler, just to shake some things up, and maybe take a little bit of that pressure off, and they can no longer just baby guard Collins.
Sure, I mean, and we've seen that some because Collins did right. he did play 36 minutes, so. He played pretty close to a full game. So most of the time that Jones was on the court, it was with him. And there are times where for whatever reason, Uri's not bringing it up the floor. So we've kind of seen what that looks like. Nesbitt is a guy who actually played a decent amount of point guard in high school. So he's always thought of himself as somebody who can play pretty much anything 1 to 3. and has no shortage of confidence in his own ball handling skills. So yeah, I think we have the ability with this roster to throw a lot of different looks out there, especially in the A10. We're going to be playing some other teams with relatively small lineups, so you could probably get away with that.
One thing that I think Billiken fans were excited to see the return of is the 1-3-1, Pete.
Yeah, and Hargrove really shines in that format as well. So it's interesting to see. You know, we threw a zone at Memphis for a little bit, and it didn't really work in that one, but looked a little bit better in these. Yeah.
Well, the Billikens are playing well, and I think there was some negativity among the fan base. You know, and I think a lot of that is in the moment. You're watching a game, I was pretty negative against Mercer in the first few minutes of that game, and I think I said I've seen this before. Like,
yeah.
So I get that, but there was a lot of negativity, and I'm not sure that it's warranted with this team. We're sitting at 6-1. We're without Perkins. We're winning games we're supposed to win handily. We looked okay against Memphis. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. We didn't play well, but we didn't, embarrass ourselves. And I think this team is in a decent spot.
Yeah. Yeah. Neither of those wins down in Cancun were the kind of wins that inspire a ton of confidence, because we did take so long to get going. But look, I mean, high level, you're looking at this team without Javonte Perkins, and they've still beaten everybody they're, quote unquote, supposed to beat on this schedule. And we lost to the team who, everybody thought was better than us. So we're 6-1 right now is exactly where I would have penciled us in at. And, there are definitely some things to work on, but I think for the most part, we look all right. At this point in the year, I'm not too concerned.
We're about halfway through the non-conference schedule. Who are you surprised the most by? Who has surprised you and why?
Surprised the most. Oh, who am I don't know that I'm truly surprised by it. I'll go ahead and say Jimerson has really expanded his offensive game in a way that makes him dangerous, and has seen it rewarded with the MVP down in Cancun. So yeah, well done by him to really build out his game, because previously, if his shot was off on a given night, you pretty much could expect him to ride the bench in the second half. And that's not going to be happening anymore. And he knows, I mean, it's not just that Javonte's out. He knows he's got to step up with Perkins out for the season, and pick up scoring load and be efficient. But this is clearly something that he had developed already. He didn't just expand his game in the last couple of weeks after Perkins went down. So I guess I would say just the level of jump that he's taken. The same answer for you, or do you have another one?
I think so. I think I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen more of Rashad Williams. That's kind of surprising, and of course, it's not in a good way. That I was surprised by some of the stuff I've seen from Fred Thatch positively. So that was a pleasant surprise to see him go off against Mercer. I think Jimerson, I'm surprised. What I'm most surprised by his game is his ability when he is, not only has he added the backdoor cut. Well, actually, he had the backdoor cut. But what he does a lot is, just like Martin Linson, getting to the rim and getting fouled as well is just as good of an offense as him making his shots, because he's generally 6 of 8 or better from the line in any given game.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, he's excellent from the line. I know. What did he miss? 1 free throw down in Cancun. So it's always a surprise when he does miss one. If he's gonna get to the line, I'll take that every possession.
A wild week in the Atlantic 10. Just a bizarre week. It's kicked it off Monday. Duquesne beats Bradley 78-70. George Washington beats Wright State 74-63. Fordham beats Akron by 20. 63-43. Richmond beats Hofstra 81-68. And then Washington beats George Mason 77-74. Tuesday night, or Tuesday day and night. Of course, George Washington loses to JMU. Kent State. 77-69. Nevada beats Mason, 88-69. Mason continues to slide. Florida Gulf Coast beats Rhode Island by 1, 67-66. Delaware sends Fordham back right where they are normally at, 81-71. SLU beats Illinois State, of course, 82-76. Wednesday, Fordham beats Rice, 84-74. Okay, Fordham's back. VCU, the team, one of the teams that has struggled mightily, the perennial power of the A-10, so to speak, one of the top, a top tier A-10 school as far as spending and basketball commitment, 67-55 over Syracuse. Boeheim in the orange, sorry, whoops, Jesus. Missouri State beats George Washington 72-54. Massachusetts beats UMass Lowell 92-81. That's a team that beat Dayton earlier in the season. SLU beats Stephen F. Austin. South Dakota State sends Mason to their third loss in a row, 80-76. They have Kim English and the Patriots have fallen back to earth, Pete.
Yeah, right. It wasn't going to last all season. They weren't going to end up in the rankings or anything like that, but it's been a pretty fast and hard fall back to earth for them.
Yes, it really has.
Yeah.
But on the ascension is the University of Dayton, 76-60 over Miami, Florida. And then Baylor, stifles the VCU Rams 69-61. Maryland takes down Richmond 86-80, and USC blows the doors off St. Joe's 70-55. That's all on Thursday. Friday night, maybe the weirdest night in the A-10 of the week. Dayton beats Kansas 74-73, Pete. I don't know.
On a buzzer beater,
on
a play that looked like it was going to go sideways, and somehow they pulled out a very weird high arcing bank shot.
Mustafa Amazil.
And wow, number 4 Kansas goes down to a team that had been off to a rocky start.
UConn continues VCU struggles 70-63. St. Joe's beats Georgetown 77-74.
I mean, Georgetown, they're not at the top of the Big East, but 3 big opportunities on Saturday or on Friday, and you take 2 of them. I'm happy with that given how this season's gone.
Decent reason to drink on Friday if you're an A-10 supporter. Mississippi State beats Richmond on Saturday 82-71, and then Bonaventure poops the bed.
Yeah, they're the
brown uniforms, so it didn't show.
They're the one team that we really just needed to be rock solid. And Northern Iowa, it's a team that is very good most seasons, but they're not this season. This is a bad loss, and really, really surprising to see Bonaventure, who plays so slow, to give up 90 points to Northern Iowa. Just a baffling result.
Yes. Robert Morris is beaten by Davidson 88-70. I'm sorry I put it that way, but I don't know why I did. UMass beats Rutgers 85-83. Rhode Island blows the doors off of Georgia State 94-59. And then today, Fordham gets a win. Hey, Central Connecticut State University over Central Connecticut State 89-83. Duquesne beats American 88-79. And then a matchup of 2 Billiken opponents, one non-conference and one conference. Dayton beats Belmont 63-61. I mean, this doesn't help. This doesn't help our net. Come on.
I don't think it does. And it's hard to say based on Dayton's results against anybody how good their opponents are. Whether it be UMass Lowell or KU or now Belmont, I don't really know what this says. I guess what I'm saying is what you do against Dayton might not be the best indication of how good you are.
Yeah, no. Villanova, no contest, beats LaSalle 72-46. Sorry, Gola boys. And that's the week that was in Atlantic 10 basketball. We're going to get into women's basketball. We're just going to recap it. Look, it is what it is. We have a soccer team in the Elite Eight. We have a basketball team that's 6-1. Women's basketball is 1-5. And we're going to get to that. But Pete, this Thanksgiving, I want to ask you, what 3 things are you thankful for? And we'll start with one with you and we'll go back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the first one I would say is the new O'Laughlin Family Champions Center. I have to think about the name when I get to it every time.
And that's why you're the smarter one of the two, because you're thinking about academic stuff.
Well, I just at a high level, and maybe this is a really broad answer, but I think what it says is we have an alumni base and a donor base and a community that has shown a big time commitment to making this a big time program across all sports, and about really committing to the young people who attend our beloved university and who play these games for our entertainment and for their own enjoyment. And I really like what that says about the school and the community around SLU. And I think more than anything, very thankful for that this year.
Yeah, I think you talk about commitment, and that is a perfect segue into mine. And I'm thankful for Kevin Kalish. The man bleeds Billiken blue. This was his dream job. It means more to him, and he shows that in the teams he's put on the field, especially this year. I'm thankful that he has put together a team that has brought a community to rally around one of the things that I love in this world more than anything. And that's Billiken athletics and Billiken soccer specifically. So I'm incredibly thankful for that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, we talked earlier about identity and skill, and just this team feels very much back in a way that is sustainable. So I'll make another easy transition and say Katie Shields, keep it with the soccer coaches. Building a real culture in that program to make them a nationally recognized name. We saw kind of the limits of where they are right now when they played that Rutgers team, who was outstanding and one of the best teams in the women's college game. But I just think it's another step in the right direction. It was a rocky season, but I think by the end of the year, we kind of saw what they were capable of and came away with an NCAA tournament win. And just to have that program in a good place, both soccer teams being so good at the same time, I think is a big deal. And that's something that SLU really needs to brand itself on athletically.
Yeah, I love that they didn't. They could have easily packed the season, and they surely didn't. Outstanding job for them. I am thankful for home field apparel, to be on the lighter side of things. I'll get sentimental on my next one, but for my second one, I'm going to go on the lighter thing. Home field apparel has allowed me to dress and rock Billiken colors and be in like serious holiday settings and not look like an asshat. So I definitely appreciate it. I was able to, go from watching a Billiken soccer game to a party, and I didn't look like out of place at the party. So God bless home field for making comfortable, stylish Billiken, Billiken apparel.
Yeah, that's a good one, especially because it seems like it's part of a wave of good SLU merch all becoming available at the same time. So that's a good one. I like that. I guess if I'm coming up with one more, and maybe one that I didn't think that you would come up with, just want to be thankful for the A10, Twitter community and all of these kind of bizarro interactions and relationships we have. And it seems like we're in a conference that's pretty good about supporting one another, even when there are rivalries and maybe there's some bad blood here and there with like the irrational hatred that Bonaventure fans have of Travis Ford for some reason. There are some weird ones like that, but I think overall I like the culture of this conference. And even though it drives us crazy on a day-to-day basis, I think these are pretty good schools and fan bases. And with all of the conference shuffling that's going on, I am thankful to be where we are right now. I think the A10 is a pretty good place, and what we've seen SLU do with facilities and everything, really commit to being at the top of it. So I think it's the best place for us right now, and we just got to win the thing.
My last is tangentially related to that. I'm thankful for the damn listeners of this podcast. My goodness.
Yeah.
Peek behind the curtain, all-time plays. And we started this from scratch. I took a leap of faith in a way, and Peter took a leap of faith in me, and jumped into this, putting time and effort beyond what he already did. But 5,000 plays all time coming up on with this next episode. We'll easily pass that. We get around 151 per episode. And that's just incredible. We have not had under 100 listens on an episode since September 27th. So since men's basketball started to ramp up, we haven't done under, and a lot of it, and we probably haven't come close to under 125. But the only time we did less than 125 was last episode, and that was my stupid mistake. So I blame myself for that one. And we even hit 108. We hit 108, and we were at like 80 by the time the men's basketball team played. So people listen to us for other than like basketball. That's incredible. So thank you to the listeners. I'm incredibly thankful that you let me spew my nonsense on a podcast and actually listen to it.
No, I mean, you know, I know Zach can be a little self-deprecating, but the legwork of putting this show together on a week-by-week basis, he does the final cut, the edit, uploading it. He's giving you the stats because he handles all of that. I just kind of show up and start talking. He also, since we've gotten so many good interviews, Zach's the guy who really runs those down. We've both leveraged the people we know within and without the SLU community to find people to come talk to us, but he's really done the legwork of sticking with people, communicating, and he's unafraid to ask anyone anything. So that comes in handy. And I think we've got a lot more good ones that you guys will be able to listen to in the coming months. So yeah, we really appreciate everyone listening, and there's a lot of work that goes into this.
Guys, I really tried to get us. I tried to get us a guest for today. I really tried. I sent. I kicked the tires on at least every alumni that I knew, and it was either too last minute or that's just not their bag to talk on a podcast, which I can understand. I'll stop hassling you, Mike Robeson. Sorry. I made a mistake on this one. I forgot to update or give a look ahead at the Billiken's upcoming games. The Billikens are going to take on Boise State on Tuesday in Boise. 3-3 overall. They're coming off a 22-7 season, 13-5 in conference. And more recently, they are coming off a dreadful performance. And I feel bad saying a dreadful performance because we've seen the most dreadful performance in college basketball history with our own eyes. So, but they lost to Cal State University Bakersfield, 46-39. Pete.
Yeah, that's a really surprising result because, like you said, this is not a bad team. This is a team that coming off an NIT season, which is a respectable finish, you know, for a Mountain West team, which is definitely a peer conference of the A10. So, you know, they're a top half Mountain West team, which means they're pretty good, and they should not be losing to Bakersfield, let alone putting up a 39. But I mean, that score
that's at home too.
Yeah, that score took me back to the Soderberg days where we were beating teams and scoring in the 40s. I mean, that was see that result from them is really surprising. So they might not be as good as we thought they were, or maybe they're just off to a rough start. Obviously, you can't take them for granted, and this is the kind of road trip that makes you really thankful for charter flights because, yeah, St. Louis to Boise, playing at elevation, playing in a different time zone. I know people love Boise, and it's one of the fastest growing cities in the country, but there aren't nonstop flights there from everywhere right now. So it's a tough road trip. And yeah, those are the aspects that make me a little nervous about this one.
Yeah. One other note on Boise State is, well, I have a couple notes, but one actual on the court note is they're a bad free throw shooting team. They're at a 60% clip this season. But they're led by Emmanuel Acott and Marcus Shaver Jr. Pete, what do you know about these two? I saw a lot of Acott in the tournaments. They were on TV quite a bit. I think they were on ESPN tournament.
Yeah, he's a really nice, well-rounded guard. He's going to be he leads them in assists, leading point getter. We've been talking about Collins has been a little shaky lately, and he's got a tough matchup in this one. And then Shaver, 12 points per game. They kind of spread out their scoring a little bit. They don't have anybody who's really the dominant scorer there. But Acott's a nice guard, and I'm going to be interested to see how he matches up with Collins and possibly, Jones at times as well.
Yeah, we talked about that really bad loss. Boise State fans aren't too happy with Leon Rice right now. He's in his 12th season. He was an assistant coach under Mark Few in the late 2000s. I don't think we would be too happy if that was a loss that we had with Travis Ford. I mean, I think they threw around terms like best team or best roster in Boise State history. And that's what you get, a 46-39 loss. So I think there are people that want to see Leon Rice no longer the coach of Boise State.
I can't believe he's already in his 12th year there. Where I never realized he was there that long. It's the only place he's been a head coach. They're basically a 20-win team every season. Yeah. They've had a couple hiccups with that, but for the most part, they're just a really kind of quietly solid team. And I think probably where that frustration comes from, they have not been to an NCAA tournament since 2015. So for a team that does kind of finish in the top half of your conference every year, is getting 20 wins, they're just a little bit short. And when you have a result like this early in a season that's not going well, the pitchforks start to come out of the shed.
I would say Boise State, the way they're quietly solid every year reminds me of a SLU soccer program. Yeah. A team that's, going to win a bunch of games every year, but they're not maybe going to reach that. They're not going to get over that hill to be a perennial mid-major power. But this team has maybe the best names in college basketball, Pete. I mean, this is incredible.
Do you know how to pronounce all these? Because
I do actually.
All right, I'll let you run with it then.
Debonair Dotrieve, which is awesome because I want to think that his mom thought that debonair was actually Devonair. I like to think that is the case. Mladen Armas, which was a hero of all the neckbeards out there. Milady. That's the what's the guy's name from the league? Andre. That's the Andre Nozick special. You got Tyson Degenhart, which is a badass name. That sounds like a wrestler. Tyson Degenhart. That's when I switch my career to pro wrestling, I'm going to be Tyson Degenhart. Marcus Shaver Jr. is just kind of a weird name, and then Emmanuel Acott, obviously. So, but just all just really odd, fun names over there on Boise State.
Yeah, the other thing I want to draw attention to, in addition to the good names, this is a team that is underperforming. They have really their top 6 players are all seniors, so they probably did have some pretty high expectations coming into the season, and they have had a couple of tough games. Bonaventure beat them by 6 earlier this year. I just don't know if I like being the team that has to play them coming off that horrible loss.
You read my mind.
If you are looking at Boise State basketball headlines from recent days, they're just
hammering.
They're really, really upset at how that went. So they have every reason in the world to play a very good game on Tuesday. And I don't know. This could be a weird one.
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous. But not to look ahead but we can because we're not on the team or in the coaching room. UAB, we are going to take on the 7th, the 4th. I apologize. That'll be Saturday. They are 5-2 overall so far this season. Have not met since February 23rd, 2005. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were in school for this game.
Yeah, that was my last semester actually. So that was my final year at SLU. It was our final season in the A10, or I'm sorry, before we went to the A10 in Conference USA, and they are coached by Andy Kennedy, who SLU fans will be familiar with. He was the coach at Ole Miss, who we played a couple times when he was there, and he was an assistant under Bob Huggins for a number of years when he was at Cincinnati. So we're familiar with Kennedy. He kind of has that Huggins attitude. He's not a very warm and fuzzy guy. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know a ton about them yet. I think I'm glad that we're playing them early in the season because they have so many transfers. I think Ford told us like 3 times when we talked to him the one time that they've got 6 or 7 transfers coming in, and all of them average double digits at their previous schools.
Good Lord.
So I think it's a matter of a lot of talented pieces that they're trying to figure out how to play together. And they're off to a 5-2 start. They're good. Haven't blown the doors off yet, but I got to think this is a team that's going to compete for the Conference USA title.
Yeah, you can check them out for yourself. They will play on the 1st of December against Eastern Tennessee State University. I believe East Tennessee. I think it's East Tennessee State University, but that's right. At 6:30 on December 1st on ESPN Plus. You don't have to go searching for that like you did the soccer game last night. But yeah, that's kind of the look ahead. We're going to run down women's basketball real quick. Unfortunately, they are not playing well. Pete, this is just a team that's not complete anymore.
No, I think,
I think we said that on the last podcast, but just to reiterate, again, and I think Lisa Stone probably bears some, for losing the people that did transfer out, Rachel Kent, you lose your best 3-point shooter. That's gotta be some sort of a strike. I don't know, not a big strike, but if that becomes a thing, it's time to talk,
look, this has been against a tough schedule too. Yes. She scheduled well. And Florida, you look at Florida and Florida Gulf Coast and probably assume like, oh wow, Florida Gulf Coast is actually the one that's ranked. They're number 25 in the country. That's an 8-point loss to a ranked team is not anything to hang your head about. Florida is kind of I think a middle of the pack SEC team. And you take a 15-point loss there. That's pretty tough, but it's become pretty clear that they do have a big hole with Smith Traore going down for the year, and just have not figured out how to fill that yet. And honestly, their shooting has just been so poor so far. I don't know if you can if they've just been, the defenses have adjusted to put more pressure on their shooters because you don't have, such a big threat inside anymore. I don't know. I need to watch. I need to actually spend some more time watching them this season.
Yeah, they were on Flow Hoops this weekend, guys. Again,
right. So another reason. There's nothing we can do about that. Yeah, right. So it's just been a really rough start, and I hope the shots start falling because they were thought to be one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the A10, unfortunately, and they're not looking like it right now.
Yeah, Marissa Warren, 12 points. Brooke Flowers, 12 points against Florida. 3-11 from 3, 21 of 63 from the field. So that explains a lot there. Against Florida Gulf Coast, Harbison had 21 points. McNeil chipped in with 18, so a good game from her. And in this one, they shot 40% from 3. So, one thing I noticed was Florida Gulf Coast had a ton of assists. So you can, from that, you read into it that they just moved the ball really, really well.
Right.
So, but any last thoughts for them before we sign off of this extra long episode? Which is funny because we only had 3 teams in action.
I know. We just really got into soccer. They
sounds like a guy. It sounds like a guy who moves to like Brooklyn. I just really got into soccer.
The women's team plays Friday at SEMO, so they do have some almost a full week of rest before that, and then a quicker turnaround. They play Sunday at 2:00 down at Tennessee Martin. So a couple road trips coming up, but they're all fairly close bus trips.
Yeah, I'm excited for Tuesday. I'm excited for Tuesday. Excited for the Saturday game. It's going to be fun. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Hopefully we'll have an interview later this week, like a more pressing interview, not like a long form interview. But thanks for listening, and go Bills.
Go Bills.